What's up, everybody? You are listening to the latest episode of The Monetize. I'm your host, Tim Conley, and I'm here with my good friend and co host, Pedro Moreno. What's up, brother?
I'm doing fine, Tim. Here with a change of scenery today, and it is very
Back
fitting.
home.
Yeah, and actually, it's very fitting to this podcast because if it weren't for the internet and the business that I'm able to run, this change of scenery would have been impossible. Essentially, I had to run back home from Friday to Saturday, hop on a plane and be here with my parents, and thank God that everything worked out. But yeah, it is very fitting also to the theme of this podcast and all the things that we are discussing, well, throughout the season and our episodes in general.
Right, right. That's the thing is, this is something I have believed since the internet became graphical. So, like going back to like 1995, like if you can access the internet, you can build the life you desire. Literally all the tools are there. A long time ago, was that 30 years ago, it was a lot harder. Today, it's free. Like other than like paying for your internet access, all the tools are free.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing is this is the biggest belief I have and why this show even exists is that uh, you could make a living on the internet for the last 30 years. And 30 years ago, when I was getting started in this, it was hard to do. But now all the tools are free. You pay for internet access, and in some places, you don't even have to pay. Like you can like live off of someone else's Wi-Fi, get a hold of
Right.
their password, and
Yeah.
right, like all the tools are free. Like if you've got a phone,
Yeah.
you're you can create everything necessary to build a business that does not require you to be anywhere on the planet.
Yeah.
It's incredibly powerful, and I'll probably be like this through this whole show. Is like I'm just constantly dumbfounded and amazed at how powerful the internet is and how much it's benefited me and all the people that I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm included. And in this case, in my case, and I excuse my lack of preparation. I mean, I have my phone, I have like the tripod, but I wasn't able to think through like bringing over my microphone and stuff because I wasn't really planning on recording. But thank God, things have gone very well. But um, it is also thanks to the internet and this ability of being able to run a business no matter where you're located, as long as your internet connection is good enough. Um, it is also very key when, urgencies appear and when you must leave the place where you're essentially based and go and fly, 3,000 kilometers over to home essentially and be with your family as well and, still be able to run things and be able to deliver to your clients and essentially yeah just running the business. But today, Tim, we are talking about how to make $100,000 on your business. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and we'll tie this in like $100,000 from anywhere in the world.
Yeah, which is
Like it's a requirement. Like in today's day and age, to make 100 grand, and you can do this anywhere in the world. Being able to make 100 grand, and it's got to be from anywhere in the world. Just a requirement in today's day and age that you should not be trapped somewhere to be able to make a living. Even if you are doing a local business, and one of these days I'll try to get my friend on, Neil, who took the idea of time, income, and mobility that I teach and built a maid service.
mm,
People go in, clean houses, right? built a maid service, and he was able to run that company from all over the world. He's traveled all over the world, and that company has continued to grow even though he wasn't locked into a location. And you would think something like a maid service would require you to be there, right?
Right, yeah.
But if you set your business up properly, that's not necessary. But we won't even get into like that harder a way of doing it. If we're just talking about doing this digitally, doing this based off of your experience and your expertise and selling what you know, which
Mhm.
is how I make a living, is I sell my knowledge and experience in a variety of ways.
So we're going to stick with selling what we know as opposed to maybe adapting this to services, right?
Right. Local services, like anything that requires a geographic region. I'll bring Neil on in a future episode, and he can describe exactly how that's done. But for making $100,000 today, the thing that's crazy to me is when I got started 30 years ago. That's how old I am. Like I got started at this a long time ago, and my goal was to hit $100,000.
Yeah.
And if you look at the internet, that's everything. It's
Yeah.
either $100,000, make $100,000, or do $10,000 a month. That literally every guru thing. And that's why like this episode's existing is it's in demand. People want this. And I want to be able to show that it's not as hard as many people believe it is.
Yeah, and I think you use the right word there, which is belief, because this is happening to me as I'm back home and I'm seeing the thought pattern of many people. Granted, of course, Venezuela is in the middle of a huge economic crisis, but I can see how the way that we perceive money and the way that we perceive even our ability to get that money really
Mhm.
permeates the fact of us even attempting to get that amount of money.
Right.
So one thing that I really cherish and value and love about your advice is that you use language that has helped me to change my belief on what is possible for us to do. And I'm in a very different place right now than where I was a year ago, essentially, where, you know, I can see that, oh yeah, it is possible because even the math isn't that complicated either. You
Right.
may see that it might be like at least for me it was like a big challenging number, like, oh man, $100,000, that's a lot. But then when
Yeah.
you break that down and you see, okay, well, I can change these prices here and there, and I'm able to get to that tier, essentially, it all changes. So it is for me very, very critical how you structure things. And I cannot think of anyone better to explain for me and the audience how you break that down in order to make that $100,000. So
Right.
yeah.
I'll tell a little story as to where this today's episode really comes from. A company that I had invested in and eventually exited, the founder, he was struggling to break out of his like belief system where every time the company got to a certain dollar amount, then they just stalled. They just stalled right there. And I flew out to his office and I worked with him for a week. And I told him we're going to invent a brand new service. We're inventing a service while I am here in this office, and we're going to sell it and get 4 people to agree to buy it while I'm here in this office. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's just not gonna happen." He had all this whole story about why this wouldn't work. And I told him, "We're going to make $100,000 in the week that I'm here. And I said, we're going to get 4 yeses. I'm going to invent a service out of the things that we already do and we already know that our clientele demands of us. These are things that they've asked for and we don't provide it. So I'm going to create this thing. And I called it something engine, like a really dumb name. And like I came up with like this thing. It's like, this is the engine for your marketing. And it's going to be $25,000 and it's going to take us 1 month to build this engine. And then then we'll start on our monthly advertising service that you normally pay for. And so we went and crafted this thing up. Like, here's the list of services that are going to be in this thing. And we figured out how much it costs us to deliver, how much we were charging for some of these services already. And I just was like, nope, we are not charging $15,000. We're charging 25,000 because we're going to get 100 grand. And I want 4. And that was the birth of what I call the 4 yes theory. You only need 4 yeses to completely change your life. Your life, if you're making, say, 50,000 a year, like in the United States, I think the median income is around $60,000 now. Many people earn far less than that. 100 grand is life changing. If you can get 100 grand in a week, it changes everything that you're capable of doing in
Yeah.
your life.
Yes.
And so that's what we did. We sat down, crafted this thing, and I told them, get on the phone. They know who you are. I could call, but they know you. And I want you to get on the phone and just start calling our clients and pitch it. Just like, here's what we're doing. Here's what it is. Here's the price. Do you want it? And day 1, we got 2 yeses. The next day was the 3rd yes. And the 4th one, he was like, oh, I'm not sure. But he said yes the next week, the very next week, early the next week. So we didn't get 4 yeses in a single week, but it was under 5 business days. It was under 5 business days that we got 4 yeses. And the company, which at the time was doing, I think, about 35,000 a month, at that moment, got $100,000 sent in. So 35,000 is what per year? 360, like 400 and something thousand. So we increased revenue by like 20% in 1 week.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you remember how many people did he ring before
We
getting?
only talked to people who were already paying us money.
Okay.
So it was like it was like 7 or 8 people total that he called out of clients that were already paying us money.
Wow.
Now, we eventually ended up offering it to people who were not clients because that's what it was designed for. It was designed for people who were not giving us money.
Right.
But we immediately got people who were already giving us money to give us more money.
Yeah.
And some of those were paying like $3,000 a month. So $36,000 for an entire year of a service.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gave us $25,000 immediately.
Wow. I mean, I see myself in those shoes as well, because it is a huge jump on an asking price, essentially. And I just cannot imagine how euphoric he might have been, but also like seeing his belief system being torn apart essentially right before his eyes, and like opening this door wide open of like, oh yeah, this is possible, if
Yes.
if you set yourself to do it. And and you say there also like getting those four yeses, which means, if you have to call, I don't know, like 200 people, but you set your sights to, okay, I need to call 100, 200 people to get those four, but getting those four, it is all that I need to be able to get to this goal. And that is something that I myself am trying to get into my system of like, well, rejection is just say like a permission to go to the next yes, essentially.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to take this rejection or this ghosting personal. It just means like I'm being cleared up to invest my energy into someone else who might give that yes.
Right.
Mm.
Right. That was how I started my career, was that I was like running around like crazy trying to get as many clients as I possibly could for any amount of money that I could get, which is a really dumb way to build a business. And I heard on a cassette tape, Dan Kennedy, the marketing genius, talk about little hinges swing big doors, which was a small number of clients will pay you a lot of money. And at the time, like I said, $100,000. That was the number in my head. I want to make 100 grand this year, and like, okay, what my best services, like maybe a website and some other stuff, maybe $10,000 was going to be my fee. So
Mhm.
10 times 10, $100,000. Like that was like my big brain, my big brain just kicking in. Like this is gonna be, this is it right here.
Right.
And I realized there's 12 months in a year. So I don't even have to get one client per month. I can get just slightly less than one client per month,
Hmm.
and I will be able to make 100 grand. And I set out to do that. I just focus. I'm going to get somebody to say yes to paying me $10,000, and I'm going to do that project, and then I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to go to the next one, and go to the next one. And I gave myself 1 year to accomplish this. And I think it was about 6 months later, I had already surpassed that, because my fee stopped being a $10,000 minimum. It went up because people were like, oh, yeah, we love what you're doing. Let's do a full ad campaign. Let's not just do this one little ad thing. Let's do more ad stuff. And then I ended up building an entire ad agency where we ended up doing radio, billboards, TV commercials. Like we were like doing everything, all from this idea that all I need is to go out and get one person, just one, to say yes for my minimum fee. And I will not accept anyone until I can, unless they meet that criteria. And that was the part that, like, really trusting myself, believing in myself enough that I was not going to settle for some $500 project,
Right.
because it would eat up my time, it would take up effort, and that's time that I could be spending looking for that $10,000 client.
Yeah, that is one of the toughest lessons that that I need to remind myself constantly when I may have like a very interesting, promising prospect, and I'm trying to remind myself of, that really ugly feeling when you do have that client and you are committed to that client, but you see, oh, the work is exceeding by a long shot what I had put on the budget. So I'm trying to stand my ground, defend myself essentially, and yeah, be convinced about that as well. But now I wanted to ask, because we're talking about selling thinking here,
Uh-huh.
and in the case of this client, with the company that you had invested in, you mentioned that you guys packaged that service or that engine within a month.
Yes.
What
Yes.
was like the thought process of taking a company that as you said, essentially was charging per month for a
Hmm.
service
Yes.
and repackaging that labor
Yep.
to then do like a self-thinking during that month.
Okay. So one of the things that I teach a lot is that most of your services are not being utilized by most of your clients. And you need to get the highest level of utilization for everything you offer. If you're not getting 80% utilization on all your services, then you cancel services or you sell to everybody and get them above 80, get that service above 80% utilization in your client base. Another part is a lot of people do things for their clients and don't get paid for it.
Yeah.
Most of that engine was the foundational work that we would do for every single one of our clients
Mm,
and did not get paid for.
mm-hmm.
And that bugs me.
Yeah.
I can't stand doing free work. I just
Right.
don't like it. And no company that I'm going to own is going to do free work, especially when it's work that the client would be happy to pay for,
Right.
right? It's
Yeah.
one thing if they don't really want to pay for it, but they're an amazing client in every other aspect. And then you're like, okay, I'll eat this a little bit here because I'm going to make far more elsewhere. Like that's a different strategy. But most people just give away a lot of their work and they never even attempt to sell it. And that was what was happening here. They had services that they were doing not getting paid for. And one of the things that came out was we started getting these clients that wanted to do strategy sessions with us. And we started with a $5,000 day because we had a small team and we calculated how much it would cost in time if our team was spending a day with a client,
Right.
and it was about $5,000. So we weren't going to make any money off of this first one. And the guy was like, "Done." Scheduled it, hopped on a plane, flew across the country
Wow.
to spend a day with the team. And I was like, "I told you, man. I told you this is what you should be doing because people value this." And so one of the first things we did was put into that foundation what we learned from doing these one-day strategy sessions when we would fly clients out. So we just stuck that in and said, well, we'll do it virtually. So it doesn't take up the whole team, it doesn't take up clients having to fly and all this stuff. But we would offer, hey, for a little extra, you could fly here and the whole team will work with you. And just like here, it's a little extra if you want that. You'll have to just pay a little bit more, but it's 25 grand for this package where we do everything remotely.
Okay.
And so about one third of the services for that engine was thinking. It was all strategy, all planning, and working with the client. About a third of it. The other third was actual services in designing the marketing campaign and all the other materials.
Right.
That was the other part of it.
Right. So essentially, you took the entire sort of like preparation for actually doing a marketing campaign and packaged it as these as a marketing engine, let's call
Yes.
it, that took place over a month. And then, at least for new clients, you have this package, and then you could sell them like your, say, like always on type of service where you maintain and sustain those marketing campaigns. Is that right?
Well, yes, they were already paying for a monthly advertising service where we were managing Facebook ads, and that was the main service, managing Facebook ads.
Right.
And our lowest level for that was like 3,000 a month.
Even.
And so we already had that. And we then added the engine.
Hmm.
and like essentially rebuilt everything that we had already done for them. All
Right.
the new clients that eventually bought the engine and then went on to the service, it was just like explained to them, here's how we do it. This is the start. It costs 25 grand. And then after that, here's the monthly fee that you'll be paying.
Right. Yeah, with sort of like no strings attached, but you're essentially landing in the runway, and it's like the place to go, continuing with that service. So,
No, not
or-
really. It was an expectation. Like
oh, okay,
this is the service. This is the service. The service is the engine,
right,
cost you 25,000, and then we do this other thing
okay,
immediately after,
okay,
right?
okay, yeah,
So the client in the sales process expected the whole thing. That was it's kind of crucial in when you're selling and you're wanting to keep a client for a long time is not to sell the short term, sell the long term.
mm,
You always get them to envision working with you for years. The coach, uh, executive coach, Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach, he came up with this thing that worked to get people to stay in his coaching program is in the application phase. Before you even speak to another human being, the application phase, it asked, and I've used this, it asked, what do you envision as a successful outcome after 3 years of working with us?
hmm, right,
That I'm paraphrasing, obviously, because I can't remember the exact words, but it was something like, what would make you happy to have worked with us for 3 years? What would it take? And that immediately sets a seed in place that this is not a short-term thing. I've got a client right now that they they came to me wanting to fix their sales issues, and I looked into the business and you have a retention problem, not a sales problem. And the very first thing we looked at was I said, I don't even know anything about your business, but I can look at this and I can say, you are selling on a 3-month contract, aren't you? And he said, yes. How did you know? I was like, because of your retention. I just knew it because I'd seen it over and over again that a lot of people in marketing try to do a 3-month trial, which is ridiculous. You want people coming in that want to be there long term.
right,
You don't say, let's do 3 months. And I showed them a path and a little inside baseball here is I showed them a path to get people to start thinking about at least 18 months of working with them. And he's like, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. Next coaching call. I get on and he's like, "Oh man, we're like immediately we're already seeing some better results right now in our sales process, and we implemented a 6-month program." And I was like, "Ah, no, no." But he was a little he was
baby
too
steps,
scared.
right,
He
yeah,
was
baby
too
steps,
scared to make the jump to where his company needed to be. And so I'm like, "Okay, we'll do this incrementally so that you feel more comfortable."
yeah,
But
I
your
would be scared
clients
too, yeah,
but your prospects don't care.
right,
Like,
yeah,
because your prospects don't know that you were just previously doing a
right,
3-month trial.
mm,
They don't know this. They don't know what your previous price was. They don't know what all the things you were doing previously. To them, it's brand new. And if you tell them, here are the expectations to work with us,
mm,
this is what it's going to be, and you're confident in what you do and confident in your price. So going back to the 4 yeses, I want everyone listening to this to figure out how much money they need to charge to get the lifestyle that they want, or at least get a big boost to it, like a 20% or 50% boost to your life, and be able to do it with just 4 yeses. What does that take? What do you need to offer that you can go get 4 people to say yes to you, and then your life is altered, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, for example, I'm envisioning even our pre-production package for our most, well, see, there I'm conditioning myself even because I'm thinking, okay, someone who will pay $25,000 for pre-production for a podcast, they'll expect like the most premium treatment and package as well. And I just got myself thinking, okay, well, maybe I'll have like two tiers of pre-production, like someone who will do just like a very basic home studio type of podcast, and then someone who will, invest in a very high-end DSLR that they need to take into account to do color grading to actually have like very good sound mixing and stuff, which is like studio quality type of service. But
Yes.
then there's no one who would stop me for saying, yeah, do you want to set up your podcast with our method? It'll be $25,000. No one but
Yeah.
myself, essentially. And of
Yes.
course, what is your stance on like any type of negotiation in that price? Is there any type or no?
Yes, it's who do you target?
Okay.
Because for some people, $25,000, they would be like, "Is that it?"
Mm-hmm.
And other people are like, $25,000? Good lord, that's a lot of money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you target the wrong person for your service, you will not be able to make the money because that was the one thing I learned when I initially set my $10,000 project fee. I had to go find people who were willing to pay at least $10,000.
Right.
And I ran into a lot of people who did not want to do that. And it took me a while to go, oh, this is my ideal client.
Right.
They needed to be in the tech industry, preferably software, maybe a value added reseller. Like they needed to fit these particular uh, characteristics.
Mhm.
They needed to be doing X amount of revenue so that when I name out my price, they go, oh, is that it? Like I wanted the sensation of being like, oh man, I should have named a higher price.
Right.
I did not want to talk to somebody and spend a bunch of effort on trying to convince them to work with me, and then they go, oh wow, that's way too high.
Right.
Right? I didn't want to waste that kind of time. So it took me a while to figure out who would be ideal. So if you want somebody to pay $25,000 for pre-production, then you have to figure out, well, who would think $25,000 for your pre-production service is a bargain.
Right.
Like, I can't believe I'm only paying this amount.
Right.
This is exciting. I
Yeah.
like this, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, I need to raise my prices, right? That's a better feeling than going, oh man, I got to lower my prices because
Yeah.
no one's saying yes because I'm
Oof.
targeting all the wrong people.
Yeah. That is the worst feeling. Like,
Yes.
Tim, what would you say to someone who is very, very hesitant on jumping from, say, packaging that initial engagement with a client to be able to then have like this years long commitment with them on even like the quality of their process and the quality of their work, but they have the feedback from their clients knowing that it is valuable, but they're not aware that that process or those processes and the work that they do can be valued at $25,000.
Right. This is more of a timing issue than a fee issue. So I my initial idea was like $10,000, and as long as I got it within 12 months, I didn't really care. But I learned a lesson. The faster you get money, the better your life is.
Yeah.
So getting 10,000 over the course of a year, not a good idea. Not
Yeah.
not fun.
Hmm.
It wasn't great back then. It's definitely terrible now. But then you have the goal of say 25,000, which I think is a minimum to be able to hit like 100 grand, 4 yeses, 25,000 should be the minimum for any kind of custom work you do for a client. So you could set a 12-month minimum. Like I will, I need to get that $25,000 within 12 months from every single client. Soon you'll realize that's not as fun as getting $25,000 in 1 month. Getting $25,000 in 1 week is even better, which I've had several friends who did that. Like they did consulting and they charged $25,000 for a week, not including travel fees. They would get flown out to their client, spend 1 week with their team consulting with them, and get paid 25 grand. That's 4 weeks of work per year for $100,000. 4 weeks, like that's 4 1-week vacations,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Not even, because it's not even including everything else that you're doing for the rest of the year. Just 4 weeks. That is literally life changing. And
Yeah.
if you could accomplish all 4 weeks in 1 month for $25,000 a week and you earned 100 grand, which is something that I started doing years ago, was I wanted to make all the money that I needed to pay my bills in the first month of the year. After that, like if I wanted to, I could just not work,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because the bills were already paid. Everything else beyond that that first 4 yeses, anything beyond that was just extra. It's like, wow, I'm living great because my bills were paid in January. Like that, these are like, it's a belief system about what's possible and how fast it's possible. It's not about really what the fee is. The fee is what gets people emotional and
Mm.
scared. But if you are really good at what you do and you can find the right type of client, you can get paid all your bills immediately, right?
Yeah.
You could make 100 grand in a single month. If you put in the effort, you could do that. But I'm saying you don't even have to go that crazy and really believe it. Just do it like I did and just go after one yes per month until you get your fee, until
Right.
you hit what you're after. And the thing is like some of the services I've offered, I used to do this service where I would go out to my clients for 2 days and we would map their business, because most entrepreneurs have no idea how their business actually produces the work that they do. They have some ideas, but it's just totally broken. And so they have no system. They have not turned their business into a uh, a full factory system
Right.
that when they know this is how we get a client and this is what happens when we're completely done with the client and the client goes away. They had they had vague notions of what happened in between. And they would pay me to fly out for 2 days and map it with them for 2 days. And I used to charge $35,000 for 2 days, and plus travel and all the other stuff, right? So it's 35,000 was my fee for 2 days. And I stopped doing it because I don't like to travel. I don't like to travel for work.
Right.
So like today, like what would it take for me to do that service today? Probably 100,000 for me to hop on a plane and go map a business for somebody.
Right.
Like just because one, I know the value that it provides the right client, but then the other side is I've got to want to do it. Like I've got to want that lifestyle. It really comes down to what do you believe you should have in this life? Do you believe you should have a minimum of 100 grand a year in income? Do you believe you should be able to make that money in a week, in 2 weeks, whatever? Like, do you believe that you are valuable enough? And if not, and I think this is where you were asking, if not, what would it take to be that valuable?
For me, it's just
For
one
anyone
yes.
listening.
Yeah. So
Yeah. But
for
even for you,
yeah.
even better is to like use you as an example for the listeners.
Well, for me, all that it took was one yes to prove myself that it is not only possible, but that even the price that I asked in that one time was even below of what the quality of our work has delivered. Now, granted, I need to to get better at my processes, but the quality of the work and what we are delivering and what the results that we are helping our clients get are even above that number that I said, which is below that 25,000. But it is it all comes down to yeah, belief essentially. Do I feel strong enough to have these words come out of my mouth? Am I trembling
Uh-huh.
when I say that?
Yeah.
Am I able to back it up? Do I feel confident on that? And for me, it took just one yes to prove myself, to prove my team, and yeah, to just go out and stand by it. So this is something that I think it is indeed transformational, and all that we need to do is practice. Like I practice even on fictional scenarios. Like I asked friends, like friends of friends, to let me pitch to them about what we do. And I even find myself convincing them at some point of, oh yeah, well, maybe starting a podcast doesn't sound that odd for me. And I could see like, oh yeah, my voice was trembling when I said the price of, yeah, we do initially pre-production and then we go into production for, I don't know, 3 years. But I didn't feel strong enough behind it. And when came to shove and I had to pitch it to an actual prospect, I had enough practice in me with all those fictional conversations that I just said it. I stood by it. I had some resistance on the payments, on how many payments can we do this on, and there we had like a middle ground where it worked for us, but all that took was that one yes, and the process that I had to endure to get to that one yes, it was all worth it, because if not, had I had those clients that I feel like resentment for because they're not paying me enough money, then I probably would have never go out and hunted that one yes that will allow me to hunt those other three yeses that we need as well and will continue to need throughout time. So yeah, it is not a gimmick. It is not so I don't know, hippie even talking about belief. And I think it all comes down to proving myself and proving oneself that, oh yeah, this is possible when you're hunting in the right scenario for those prospects.
Right. And what I'm excited about is in the next couple of years when we look back on your premium service that you're
Mm,
calling it, the premium service
right.
becomes your bottom service. Because right now, two yeses is 100 grand in the business. So it's like, I really want that to be, you know, the bottom, where in the future it's, $250,000 to work with Lumen.
Right. Yeah.
And then maybe we end up in much higher positions than that. And the reason I say it like this is, if you don't have this bigger vision of what that money would do for you, if you don't have a bigger vision of what it would do for your life, what it would do for your clients, what it would do for your family and your community, if you don't if you can't see the future and go, yes, that is what it would get me, you will not even attempt it. You will not attempt to change your belief system to go after those four yeses.
Yeah, and Tim, this is very important for me because, some people might find even $100,000 greedy in some parts of the world, maybe even in some places in America. But how I see things, it's you need to have resources for your business to continue running, and you need to have resources for your life whenever you find yourself in a position where those resources are very much needed. And it was you with your belief system and with your actions that you were able to accrue those resources and be able to put your face in front of those challenges and actually come through with them. So, money for me, it's not just a pursuit of being greedy and having a lot of zeros in the bank. It is the tool to take care of those around me and alleviate their hurt, essentially, and make their lives and my life better. So, that is what those four yeses are going to get to me.
Awesome, everybody. We'll see you in the next episode.